Welcome to our channel Top Reddit Story. Make sure to subscribe our channel and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our hardest to reply your comment. Soldiers of Reddit. What was something that was so funny even the drill sergeant couldn't help but giggle? Dude was told he couldn't trim his unibrow. If he did, he'd have to shave both eyebrows as well. So that's what dude did. Shaved it all. DS lost it laughing and then made the private report every morning to have them sharpied on with a new expression every day. Added, the best ones were when he was given 2 squares as eyebrows or a constant surprised look. And thanks for my first gold. I shall name him Philip. Someone in basic threw their half-eaten schnitzel into the toilet and tried to flush it. It didn't flush. He left. So we are all in our rooms as we hear one of our drills scream to get out and line up. We line up and he was one of the super serious guys. 190 meters tall. Easily 100 kilograms of pure muscle and always mean mugging everyone. He starts screaming at us telling us that we are pigs. No one knew what went on. Then he started yelling someone threw a ducking schnitzel into the toilet. As he finished he started smiling. First time in months I saw the dude smile. Everyone started laughing hard. He got angry again and started repeating himself. He starts laughing once he hits the schnitzel part again. We all laugh again. He just tells us we are dumbasses and someone better fish that piece of schnitzel out ASAP. From a friend at Air Assault. They were fast roping down off towers and there was one guy that was deathly afraid of heights but was still making his way to pass, and he was just standing there and the instructor yells something along the lines of stop being a pussy and go. He proceeds to jump into the rope, lose his grip and fall the entire way down while screaming air assault until he hit the ground. He broke his arm and had to go with the next class. You have about 30 seconds to unduck yourself starting 28 seconds ago. I don't know if that was an old saying amongst all of them or he made it up on the spot. But goddamn did I almost ducking lose it. Fort Benning. Drills were searching for contraband after a private was found with chewing tobacco. One of the DS got a broom handle and started pushing the ceiling tiles up to see if anything would slide out. A happy sock fell out and hit him in the face. The other DS walked off into the office. He was cough laughing the whole time. We were smoked into oblivion. Navy boot camp in Orlando, Florida in August of 1989. The company was split up in 2. On either side of the center line facing the front of the bay. Our company commander had us doing 4-count jumping jacks where we all had to clap on the 2nd and 4th together. It had to sound like one clap. There were 68 of us and even though we struggled, all of us eventually got it. Well, all of us but one. This poor guy just could not clap with the rest of us. He was eventually pulled up to the front of the bay where he would lead the exercise. At the last second. Every time. He would change his pace and ruin it. The company commander smiled throughout and eventually just keeled over laughing at this guy. It's funny though that I don't remember being angry even though we must have been doing jumping jacks for about 3 hours in 100-degree heat. I do remember that the only reason we quit was because the cement floor was too slippery with sweat to safely continue. OMG. I have the best story for this. Basic training. Some dude was getting a reprimand from the course officer because he was a bag of fail. He got briefed by the platoon sergeant beforehand to march to the door, salute the officer, and wait to be instructed what to do. But this guy was as dumb as a brick. So he marches to the door and stands there looking stupid. The sergeant waits a good long while hoping this kid will clue in. And nothing happens. Finally he yells at him, well, aren't you going to pay compliments to the officer? And numpty stammers for a bit and finally chirps out, you're looking really nice today, sir. Sergeant yells at him to GTFO. And slams the door and the entire course staff nearly die from laughter. It took an hour for us to stop laughing long enough to call him back and actually give him the reprimand. I was on the floor with tears in my eyes. 4 years afterwards. Anytime we would see that officer we would stop him to tell him he was looking nice. It never stopped being funny. Not a soldier but an airman. Hopefully you still like the story. We are out on the pad standing in formation waiting for breakfast just like any other BMT morning. We are at the end of our training, so the MTIs tend to not harass you as much in your last week or so at basic. Our MTI has a doctor's appointment or something, so he has a female MTI in the squadron we have seen from time to time watch us while he is gone. So she takes us all from parade dress to attention and addresses the dorm chief, lead trainee position in the flight. He lets out the fatal response of yes sir to whatever the duck she said to him. She's a petite athletic looking redhead and would not be mistaken for a sir. She gets right in his face as it leaves his mouth and starting yelling. You make me so mad I just want to whip out my big dig and slap you across the face with it. I fired on. There were 3 other flights with like 20-40 trainees each, including their MTIs, immediately dying laughing. Even she only held it together for a few seconds of being angry red in the face before laughing. I think you would get in some serious trouble these days yelling great lines like that. Our sergeant liked to take his Smokey Bear hat and tap recruits on the bridge of their nose while yelling at them that he wasn't touching them. I happened to fall in behind him walking down the bay. He thought it would be a good idea to spin around and poke the brim of his hat into somebody's face. Hit me square in the chest. I'm 6 feet 6 inches tall. I can't even remember what he yelled exactly. But he was trying very hard not to laugh. Then spun back around and went into his office with the assistant TI. They started laughing so loud that we all heard it. Bay inspection day. The company first SGT and commander are going through each platoon's bay and checking everyone's sheet and casually grilling the recruits on the base's command tree. Our company first SGT goes to our platoon leader and asks him what position does Command Sergeant Major insert name hold in this base? It's a trick question. The answer simply being Command Sergeant Major. Anyways, the platoon leader hesitates before belting out something extremely retarded. I don't remember verbatim, but it was something similar to Command Sergeant Major insert name as the Star Commander Leader Chief of Fort Benning. First Sergeant. Everyone freezes. Even the drill sergeants don't even breathe. The company first SGT stares at this guy for like 20 seconds before muttering loudly, "You ducking retard," and shakes his head and leaves the bay. Doesn't even punish him. Even the DS is laughing and calling him a ducking dumbass. Was pretty excellent and everyone broke out laughing when they left. One time my ankles were legit hurting really bad. Cankles and new boots yay, so I asked the DS if I could go to the infirmary. He said yes. I said, "Thanks, dude." He laughed and said, "You know I gotta smoke you for that," and he did, but it was nice to see the human side for the first time. A master corporal was calling drill for us once and his voice cracked on the command. So he went from yelling in his normal kind of deep voice, he was a big dude, to a loud shrill dude impersonating a woman kind of voice. Everyone took a second, but the other instructors for our platoon cracked and everyone just kind of laughed. That's what happens when men wear tights too often. Years ago while doing basic. During the course, you obviously have lots of drill training. Marching. Standing at attention. At ease. Turning, etc. We're all in the drill hall practicing away. When somehow one of the recruits lets out a high-pitched squeal and falls over. Dude managed to squish his nuts together somehow while coming to attention. All 3 instructors sprinted over and started jacking him up, and we're laughing so hard at the same time that they are almost crying. Not exactly a drill sergeant, but during basic training we were marching in formation when we suddenly hear a thump. Turns out one of our comrades dropped his helmet. Of course our instructor saw this and responds with, "Ein deutscher Helm fällt nur einmal, a German helmet is only dropped once." Pretty common military textbook phrase. He commands the soldier to pick up his helmet and we carry on marching. About 30 seconds later we hear the same sound again. So I turn around and ask myself how you can possibly fail the simple task of helmet retention. You basically just clip it to your carry rig. While already waiting to hear the instructor saying the same phrase again. What do I see? Our instructor turning around, doing his personal walk of shame and picking up his helmet. Let's just say we weren't short on beer when we celebrated the end of basic. When we were doing combatives, I made a Pulp Fiction reference because the guy wrestling kinda looked like Samuel L. Jackson and I caught one of the drill sergeants chuckling. All I said was, does Marcellus Wallace look like a rich lol? In Air Force BMT you have to carry this stupid flashlight with you when marching that had this yellow cone on it. One guy in my flight got tired of holding it, so he decided to have his belt hold it like a Jedi would have done with his lightsaber. Well, the instructor sees this and tells him that he has to quick pull out your lightsaber and fight Darth Vader right behind you, another trainee. Watching these two idiots have a lightsaber fight was the funniest thing I've seen, which must have been for my instructor since he walks away belly laughing at the two retarded Star Wars nerds. After a long and horrible 20-mile run in 100-degree temperatures, the DS leans way in towards one private who looks ready to die. I bet you wish I'd die just so you could piss on my grave. Right? No. Drill sergeant. And why is that? Cause once I get out of the army, I'm never standing in another line again. Drill sergeant. Navy boot camp 2008. We had a big Samoan guy in our division who loved singing Disney songs. This dude started singing A Whole New World in a shower with 80 other dudes and all of us started singing along. I can remember our RDC just shaking his head and grinning. To conscripts, friends of mine, were in front of Sergeant Major's office to report sick. Our drill sergeant walks past them to ask what's wrong. Female says her jaw is hurting enough to see a doc. And the guy pointed down on his private part. Drill sergeant cracked up laughing. No. The two things wasn't related. Every time an instructor enters the room, the first person who sees them yells room. And everybody in the room immediately stands at attention until told to ease. This day, the instructor enters to room while the first guy was mid-sentence. He sees the instructor. What? Everybody jolts to attentions. For tomorrow's inspection we are going to, he pauses. Turns to the first guy. Left double quotation mark. Did you yell what? Dude nods his head. The instructor laughed. It wasn't a drill sergeant, but a small group leader or SGL. The equivalent for the school that you go to when you become a sergeant. A couple of rangers put a blow up doll above my buddy's bunk. The SGL was hinted that there was contraband in the room. The SGL came in swinging a golf club and poking ceiling tiles. Out drops a blow up doll with shut up itch written in duct tape over its mouth. My friend laughs and says that ain't mine. They flip the doll over and it says Will's itch on it says. Former German army officer here. When I was a platoon commander in basic training, there was a recruit who was really small in height. I'd say 150 centimeters. 155 tops. Anyway, one day the platoon was cleaning their rooms and one of them entered said recruit's room. Sure enough, one of them notices the superior, yells attention, and everyone stops doing what they're doing and go into attention. But the little guy was just in the process of cleaning the windows and just so happened to fit right into the window frame in an upright position. So as Thenko scans the room, he is presented with the sight of 3 huge bodybuilding soldiers and a tiny one standing in attention within a window frame. The poor guy just lost it. When he returned to me, he was still crying tears. This is a bit of a long one. Back in 1990 I was doing basic in the British Army, and we were having a room inspection. So in walks the platoon lieutenant, sergeant and corporal. They start looking around, then the officer goes to one of my roommates, nicknamed Fontes, talked with a posh accent. So Fontes, I hear you want to be an officer. Fontes, yes sir. Corporal then says, this Fontes is your asshole sewn up? Fontes, what? Corporal, is your asshole sewn up? Fontes, no corporal. Corporal, well you can't be an officer then because officers are full of shit. My driver's license picture. Okay. You know how nobody has a good picture? I was afraid that I'd look high if I kept my neutral expression. So I decided to look animated. Ended looking like, and this is the description given by a fellow private, a meth addict Jack Sparrow. Freshly escaped from a loony bin. Drill sergeant took one look at it. Damn near fell down laughing. Not me, but a story from a friend. So my friend, let's call him Chuckles, joins the IDF as an American volunteer. Now what Americans call drill instructors or drill sergeants in Hebrew is mifaked, which is pronounced very similarly to my duckhead. So Chuckles, being a joker, starts calling his mifake my duckhead really fast and trying to get it past him. One day the mifake hears it and yells at him, "Do you think I don't speak English? Get on the ground and start doing push-ups and I'll tell you when you can stop. I know you're calling me duckhead." So Chuckles says, "No mifaked. I can't help it. It's my accent." The mifaked turns away and is doing his damnedest to hide it, but his shoulders are shaking, he's laughing so hard. And he just walks away. After laundry was done, they threw it on the floor in a big pile. Your name is stenciled on every article of clothing, so one guy would stand next to the pile, pick up an article of clothing, read the name and then throw it at the owner as we walked around him in a circle. So we took one of our mesh laundry bags and carefully cut it to look like a thong. Then stole a pink highlighter and colored it pink and wrote our drill instructor's name on it and snuck it into the laundry. The day comes to pass out laundry and he sees it, loses his ducking sheet, starts screaming, "WHO, the duck owns this. I'm going to duck your whole world up." He picks it up, sees his name and had to leave the room. He was laughing so hard that we got the sheet beat out of us for about 1.5 hours. Basic at FT. So, Oklahoma. We were all taking basic life support classes and we had a medic come through and show us some basics. As the class progressed, he stopped to take a moment to answer any questions. One of the recruits, who was different, asked what to do if the helmet was to fuse to someone's skull. Everyone was pretty dumbfounded at the question and his seriousness. Our DS had seen and heard some things in their time, but that was next level. PS. If the helmet gets hot enough to melt onto someone's skull, that person is probably dead and you probably don't have to worry about treatment. Drill sergeants will often play a trick on new recruits with MREs. MREs come with crackers that are super dry and I am pretty sure they are made with sawdust. Well, they say that if you can eat them all in 2 minutes without drinking anything, you can have the day off. So all of us dumbasses tried it. 8 crackers is no big deal, right? Yeah. Most of us couldn't even handle half of. Teachers of Reddit, what it goes on at schools that students don't know about? I heard about a private war going on in the staff room at a school near me. One of the teachers got fed up of somebody else using his coffee mug. He tried bringing in a trashy, half-cracked mug, sure that no one would want to steal it, but they did anyway. He eventually solved the problem by drilling a hole in the mug and carrying a stopper for it around on a key ring so only he could use the mug. Probably the biggest thing that students don't realize is that teachers are people just like everyone else. Yes, we like some of you more than others. Sometimes we go out and get drunk or get laid. We have kids and make dinner and read books and spend our time grading all that work you do. Good God, do we grade? Teachers have cliques and are sometimes so backstabbing and petty toward one another that it would cause them to be upset if they watched their students doing the same things. Ever had an amazing lesson you really enjoyed? There's a strong chance that your teacher had to fight to be allowed to do it. There's a strong chance that there are many similar fights they've lost before too. Edit. Thank you for the gold. Could you elaborate? Lots of schools are very strict on what teachers can teach and have preset lessons or have to be approved by that group, history group, math and so on. So that way all teachers teach pretty much the same thing. Usually it brings every teacher down to the lazy teachers and crushes the good teachers' individuality and abilities to teach by making them conform to the rest of the group. Because no matter what, the bad teachers will be bad, but this method generally makes all teachers bad. Well, at my school, there was tiny unused computer lab. Only 4 computers. That we used to play RuneScape on. As teachers? Yes. We were going through a man I miss childhood everything makes me nostalgic phase. Even the simple worksheet lessons can take hours of planning. And we have to plan every single day. even if we planned weeks in advance. Because every little thing the students talk about causes us to rethink the ways in which we have to teach. Also, it costs thousands of dollars a year. The fact that teachers spend a ton of their own money is really just invisible to everyone but other teachers. Not a teacher, but a janitor at an elementary school. A while back, some random guy found his way into the school and hung himself in the kindergarten classroom. Don't think parents were informed, let alone students. A kid at my high school committed suicide by soaking his clothes in gasoline and lighting himself on fire right on the front steps of the school at 7 AM. The janitor had to clean up what was left before school started after they removed the body. He was noticeably disturbed for the rest of the year, and you could still see the burn mark on the steps. Sometimes I have to fart in class. So I go down in bottom of the class and I fart very slowly, and then I walk back to my desk and watch the students discuss who farted. My senior English teacher would straight up fart and blame it on students. During summer vacation, when the students are gone, I hook my GameCube up to the huge projection TV in the AB room and play Mario Sunshine. The politics of your major's department. There are probably about a dozen professors in my department at college. And there are all sorts of weird factions among them. And every faction hates every other faction. If I had 4 classes with 4 different profs, it's likely that they all hate each other. As a TA, I can confirm this. In our department there is a firm divide between professors who do all the primary research within the major, and the adjunct professors who are there to teach. I drink when I grade papers. It helps me get through the monotony. And I'm sure I grade a little easier. Aaron. Terrible work. Your stilted grammar and lack of depth is reprehensible. D. 2 hours later. Zach. Ah. You clever bastard. I love the lichtel sentences and light perspective. A+. ZZZZZ. Not a teacher. But for a child development class in high school, I had to shadow a teacher for a day. The teacher I chose was my former 5th grade teacher. She had lesson plans due that day, and she was scrambling to do them during lunch. Just like students do. I found it kind of ironic because teachers scold students for doing that. As a teacher, I'm usually one to praise the positive aspects of the position. But here's a little bit of negativity for you. A school will track your absences less so because they are concerned for your well-being, and more so because they're legally responsible for you. We notify your parents when you're absent. If you went missing and we failed to notify your family, leading them to believe you were safely at school, we would be liable for the ensuing fallout. In a tangentially similar vein to many people working for the district, you are just a bucket of money. If you leave one school and go to another, the bucket of money follows you to your new school. Attendance is important because schools cannot receive money for students who are not attending. I've had my kids' grades changed without my knowledge just to keep up to state standards and quotas for funding DART. I'm thinking I'm giving a kid an F, and then he has C's on his report card. Happened more than once, unfortunately. Rules are the only way we can maintain a classroom, as keep it in order. Yes. Even the stupid ones help us maintain our little bubble. A lot of students don't realize that teachers spend a lot of time planning on how to deliver an interesting class on what is probably a very dry topic. Despite not being supported by the government and hung out to dry by the media, most teachers agonize of delivering quality education that will improve the quality of life for their students. This is the sheet that really happens. Was a teacher. Technically a docent in op leading. A teacher in training. For 5 years before deciding to study at university. Trash talking about students in very brutal terms in the teacher's lounge. A colleague sleeping with a student. Since she was 16, he 22. He was not one of her direct teachers, except in the art of loving. Obviously, and she was dead certain to graduate. It was hushed up. Pretty sure every school has one of those scandals every few years or so. For students, teachers are always an amorphous blob of square adults who, presumably, never have sex or fun in general, and who are a house united in their determination to crush your free teenage soul. In practice, teachers are as tribalistic as the cliques in the school canteen. The history teachers are allied to the civics teachers, tolerate the geography teachers, and are engaged in a ferocious struggle with the economy teachers over control of the coffee served. The history teachers argue that brand X is the traditional choice, while the economy teachers propose that brand Y would be more efficient. Everybody hates the fit PE teacher. I've been teaching for 2 years in an average public high school. Seems like weekly one of my students will be going through something like parents' divorce, parental cancer, pass away, diagnosed depression, have about 3 students diagnosed in each of my classes, suicidal tendencies, sexual abuse from step-parents, relatives, parents drug addicts, grew up with foster parents, relatives as parents passed away while they were young, in jail, gave them up, anxiety-related illness from stress, range of learning disorders across all my classes. Way more that I can't think of right now. I was lucky growing up with none of this happening to me in high school, but just think next time you go to bully or pick on that quiet kid or the kids that's a little bit different, he's probably that way for a reason. Everyone is dealing with their own shit that you have no idea about. Was a sub for 9 months. Anymore. It's all politics. The teachers don't matter. What matters is saving money, and in my district I noticed old teachers being forced out and replaced by newbies that would work for a duck ton less money. Teachers are cliquish, and it's worse than the students' own cliques. I worked at one school where I was made so uncomfortable I never sat in the teacher's lounge and ate in my car. Some adjunct positions require only a master's degree. And only the degree, no teaching experience. Recommendations or interviews are required. If you have masters in physics, you can have total control over a class by sending a few emails to get the job. I run L-on games in my labs for up to 64 students at lunch times. Build and shoot, Ace of Spades old free version, is popular at the moment, but the students know about that. I rarely go in the staff room because I'm a man-child, and probably autistic. At the end of every term, teachers would always go to the same pub to celebrate. So we used to go along to and ended up getting ratted with them a few times. Once we were talking to the super old and fat English teacher. He stopped midway through his sentence and said, "Excuse me boys, I must go abuse." One of the female members of staff walked over to the super hot biology teacher and lifted her dress over her head. All we'll say was that I know she shaves thoroughly and she won't talk to our group for the remainder of the year. We like to have sex just like people in any other profession. I was late to class once because I had sex in the bathroom in the teacher's lounge. Got a stain on my skirt. Luckily nobody noticed or cared. 2 teachers at my school were always very fake flirtatious, to the knowledge of the students. They were flirty and fun, and all the students wanted them to get together. They played it up very much, even doing a dance together at some variety show. What the students didn't know was that the male teacher of the pair was acting as the bid for the female teacher while she dated another female teacher at the same school. It was actually very, very sweet. I am a para. I work with the academically struggling kids. I have 0 credentials and I'm so young that I still have best friends that go to the school I work at. It's K-12. They trust me to hold these kids' futures in my wildly underqualified hands. I'm a para as well in a high school and I'm 22. I always feel underqualified. High school students, you don't really know how much your teachers really do care about who you are and who you will become. Maybe not every teacher, but everyone I've worked with goes above and beyond to support their students. YAY teachers. Was he drunk when he made this test? Yup. I sure was. You know that one teacher none of the students can stand? We can't stand him either. If you bait him into hitting you so he can be fired, you'll never hear it. But we will all be drinking toasts to you after school. We drink so much on Fridays. All day? Or just after the final lesson? Starts at breakfast.